of Stadia podcast, where you join us for all of your weekly Stadia and gaming news rounded up into 1 or so hours. Thank you for joining myself, Chris, one of your hosts for this week's show, alongside the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie himself.
You know what, Chris? It's been a weird week for news. I'm not sure what to make of it yet.
It's been a quiet week for news. It's been really, really quiet. We're only lying, ladies and gentlemen. It's been one hell of a week. We've got a great show lined up for you. We're recording on a Saturday night, so for folks out there, like Richie said, it's been one hell of a week. So let's pop the caps on these beers. You're drinking water, Richie. I know that already, but I'm not. I've had a busy day. I've had a busy week. We've had tons of news. Like we said, we've got all of the breakout, the fallout, if you will, from the Google news. Google Stream has been revealed. We know a bit more about the business direction from a Business Insider article that they locked behind a $1 paywall, the sons of bitches. But you know what? I paid that dollar because I wanted the Stadia news for this show, and then I cancelled my subscription immediately after I signed up to it. But you know what? It's worth it for the story, I guess, in a way. Probably not. But we'll dive into all that alongside some major games industry news as Destiny's Bungie people are snapped up as well. Boing, there they go. Plus, actual game news. We've got some good news in games this week, dropped and coming. We've got some news around big titles that could be coming. We've got some leaks and rumours we're going to dig into, plus a bunch of updates and much, much more. Like some crazy sumbitch on eBay selling a genuine original Stadia transparent controller. But before we dive into all that, Richie, shout out to all of our viewers and listeners out there for tuning in, watching, regardless of the Stadia news. It goes up, it goes down, but you're all here to tune in every week, and we appreciate every last one of you. Special shout out to our members, of course, our Helix heroes up there, out there on the bronze, silver, gold, platinum tiers. We appreciate you just as much, if not even a little bit more. We probably shouldn't say that, but hey, you know what? You're our favourites. We love you all, and all the beautiful people who hang out in our Discord chat. So don't forget, if you haven't done so already, hit that bell, click that like button, and subscribe so you're kept in the loop with all of the content we bring you here at youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games, and up there on your podcast preference of choice in those magical clouds, come rain or shine. Richie,
yeah,
I need to talk to you about SideQuest last week.
Yes.
Hundreds of people flocked to SideQuest 52. Are you happy? Are you happy how the anniversary of SideQuest has done so far there?
Yeah, it's been one of our most successful episodes to date. So long may it continue.
Long may it continue. Of course, the episode we're referring to is our one-on-one conversation, our interview with the one and only Grace Yang, formerly of Google Stadia. Lovely community manager who has her own podcast, does her own thing, has moved on to a new step in her career path, and we had a lovely conversation. As we talked about on last week's show, go check that out if you haven't done so, and our members got that a week early, just like you can get this week's show a week early as well by hitting join on the link down below. But more about that later. Richie, we've got a chock full episode, so I don't want to linger too long in the updates. But quick one from this last week, we checked out Life is Strange Remastered as part of our weekly Thursday Stadia live stream. What were your not first impressions, we both played the game several times now. What were your takeaway from Thursday's stream, the remastered version?
Yeah, I mean, it's Life is Strange. I've said a couple of times that I think the originals hold up well enough for what style of game it is. We did have a few bugs, though, so, I mean, I always think with remasters, bugs are kind of inexcusable. Mm-hmm. Like, because you're not remaking the game, you're just kind of polishing it up a bit, so you should kind of work out on them things. And like, well, I think it was like the end dramatic scene, like the audio was just gone.
Yeah, that was a bit disappointing. The big climactic build up to the end of chapter 1, and it was muted, and I had to do the vocals for all the characters very quickly. But yeah, kind of sucked the air out of it a little bit.
As much as I love the game, and I think the remasters are worth playing, bugs like that, I think it just need a bit slightly inexcusable. Like you kind of need you should be polishing this stuff up before you, especially on the remaster. It's harder to justify on the remaster than it is like a brand new release.
Yeah, we had a funny moment when, because within the game, spoilers I guess for a 7-year-old game, you can rewind time. That's the whole gimmick of the title.
Yeah.
And within the first 5 minutes maybe, we rewound time so far. The instructions to how to rewind time did not disappear from the screen for the next half an hour. We rebooted the chapter, had to play through a bit all over again. almost stuck in a bit of a Groundhog Day, funnily enough. But like you said, yeah, the story's great. And by the end of the chapter, I think once again I was sucked back into the story of Max and Chloe and what the hell is going on in Arcadia Bay. So if you've not checked out that, it's still a pro game. Claim it as far as your February games go. But yeah, we enjoyed it. And we'll be back this Thursday as well to stream the one and only Destiny 2, which it may be because of the news this week has given me a little bit of a tickle.
Yeah.
I feel that Destiny tingle in my jellies, and I want to check it out.
Somehow we've been doing a Stadia-focused podcast for 124 weeks, and we've never actually made any content on Destiny.
Which is crazy, because there's
thousands... It was the release title.
There's thousands of players on Destiny, of course, which we'll get into as part of the news. But I should clarify, we both checked out Destiny, and Tom did. Is our very first game I ever booted up on Stadia was Destiny 2. I'd already played a bit of it on my PlayStation, so that's kind of why. And again, we'll delve into all that. But yes, check us out this Thursday. Join up on our fire team, and as they say, eyes up, Guardian. We'll see you there on Thursday, 8 PM UK time for that one. But quick whistle stop tour, Richie, before the news. What have you been playing?
I've been playing mainly Uncharted Lost Legacy. So I've rolled credits, and I was telling you before we started recording. Mm-hmm. I'm currently working on my crushing playthrough, which is crushing indeed. It's hard. It's really, really hard at times.
As a quick pro tip, I believe you can do crushing difficulty with the game modifiers on, like unlimited ammo on the weapons.
Yeah,
it helps.
I have been trying not to use them, but if I'm getting stuck on the scene where you just die, and it's not fun, and I'm switching them on at that point.
Yeah. Bust out that China Lake grenade launcher. Yeah. Boom, boom, boom.
I love the silenced pistol, personally. It makes stealth so much easier.
Yeah, it's a great title. I'm the same. I'm working my way through Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy with the wife. Of course, playing on the upgraded edition. £10 for two amazing titles. The trophies are a bit messed up. You only get one platinum, but you know what?
I'm playing on the peasant edition.
Oh, it still looks beautiful. It holds up so well.
Oh God, yeah.
No problems there. Of course, I've been playing a little bit more of FIFA. Of course, football season is still big and well over here in the UK. Transfer window ended, so I've got that itch to jump back in and do a bit of football.
I'm waiting for the upgraded squads, and last time I checked a few days ago, they hadn't updated the squads for the January transfer window yet. So it's like I do have that itch to get back in.
Yeah, been chipping away at the old ball. No chain, just ball this time. Yeah. But Richie, without further delay, like I said, an amazingly busy show with some juicy stories. I know you're all here for it, ladies and gentlemen, so thank you for tuning in. Thank you for staying with us on our Stadia adventure. Let's kick things off, Richie, by introducing us to the
super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka the news.
And what a week for news it was. As if Activision and Blizzard being bought by Microsoft, the big old daddy Microsoft, wasn't enough, Richie. The news wheel kept turning, and but remember, we were only in January still. What a year 2022 has kicked off in the games industry, and it's not the end; it is the beginning. Everyone, it's the beginning. However, we're not going to jump into more mergers and acquisitions just yet, because a little story dropped this past Friday of all days. Actually, it was quite late in the week, from Business Insider. As I mentioned at the top of the show, this was hidden behind a horrible little paywall, but you know what? We did some digging, we got it, I subscribed. I'm going to read some statements from this kind of article. We'll probably break it down paragraph at a time, Richie, and get into it. You know us, everyone out there, we like to keep it light and reasonable. This news broke yesterday, so we've had a kind of a day to sit on it now before going live immediately and bearing our emotions on our sleeves.
And our Discord server was really getting into the thick of it over the last day. Mm-hmm. I intentionally just went. I was reading through, but I'm not going to wait because I want to digest the news and discuss it on the podcast as a fresh take.
Yeah, indeed. So
I didn't want to make that knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah, so we've had 24 hours to set on it. We read all your comments on social media and Discord, of course. The awesome team guys over there thoroughly covered it, broke it down, gave all their opinions, and again, if you want to join in with them, the Discord it's non-stop now, Richie. It's so active and live. If you're in any other Discords and you think it's died down a little bit, head over to ours. It doesn't end. Stadia cloud gaming conversation non-stop. But let's break this article down a little bit. So reading from Business Insider's article, it starts off with when Google announced last year that it was shutting down its internal gaming studios, it was seen as a blow to the company's big bet on video games. No denying that. Google, whose Stadia cloud service was barely more than a year old, said it would instead focus on publishing games from existing developers on the platform and explore other ways to bring Stadia's technology to partners. Since then, the company shifted focus of Stadia's division largely to securing white label deals with partners including Peloton, Capcom, and Bungie, according to people familiar with the plans. Google is trying to salvage the underlying technology which is capable of broadcasting yada yada yada, we know it, and it is now known by its new name, Google Stream. I was going to say Project Stream there. Formerly Project Stream in its beta period.
Yeah.
The consumer platform, meanwhile, has been deprioritized within Google, insiders have said, with a reduced interest in negotiating for blockbuster third-party titles. The focus of leadership is now on securing business deals for Google Stream. People involved in those conversations said the changes demonstrate a strategic shift in how Google, which has invested heavily in cloud services, sees its gaming ambitions. Without reading the thing verbatim, word for word, go check it out. I know there's plenty of socials up on thingy, but that's the initial introduction. And I think the biggest takeaway, which hit a lot of gamers out there, a lot of us, myself included, deprioritization?
Yes,
is that
that's
the word? Hey, I won. Out of several paragraphs, I got the bingo word. I'll have a drink. I'll have a drink to that. So we'll go through this article, Richie. There are some interesting takes away from it, actually. Which they don't have to be negative. Yes, it's not great news on the forefront, but let's break it down. There are a business. It's still sticking around. It's not going anywhere. Don't shit the bed, everyone. But yes, I think, Richie, we can't hide behind the fact that prioritization. That's a hard word to say, actually. When you've had a few deprioritization. See? Told you it was. It sucks, right? There's no way to sugarcoat that. It's shit. It's like your platform you've invested in as a consumer. It's no longer a priority.
It's
for the
less
people
important
in
to them. Like
that's shit.
Yeah, that's it. In a very cynical way, like your money isn't as important to Google as what they think they can get from other avenues with this technology.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying my monthly pro subscription is the same as $1 million deal with Peloton.
Yeah,
I get that, but at the same time, we'll delve more into it. But yes, it looks bad from the outside looking in, and we know, by the way, before we delve into this, we know Google have responded. We will get to that. They've put out a few tweets and messages across social media to kind of address this a little bit, but we'll get into our thoughts about how they really addressed it though as the show goes on. We keep reading though, so reduced interest in blockbuster third-party titles, Richie. That, I think, for both you and me and probably most of our audience is another big point. If they ain't getting big AAA games, it kind of loses my interest a little bit, if not a lot, because that's why I game. I game to play the biggest blockbuster titles, and it had me a little bit worried last year when Guardians of the Galaxy didn't come because of the existing deals with Square Enix, and it was a AAA title, and we had nothing. This kind of now highlights as to why that probably didn't come, because they don't give a damn about negotiating for blockbuster AAA titles.
Yeah, I think the problem is the Stadia user base is relatively small compared to other platforms. Mm-hmm. It hasn't took off the way that Google were hoping it would. It's kind of become a bit of a meme in the video game industry.
All 4 players, you mean?
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah, that's it. I think we're up to 5 now.
Well, actually, the Destiny stats we'll get into later on prove that there is a damn sight more than 4 for just one game alone.
Yeah.
Put that aside.
But I think it's like they've looked Google. I'm not saying I don't even think this is like anyone to do with the Stadia team. Not even Phil Harrison. He's probably been fighting against these decisions. I'd like to assume.
I mean,
but it seems like Google as a massive organisation have looked at it and gone, we've put all this money in. Mm-hmm. We're not gotten anywhere near a return on the investment that we were hoping. It doesn't look like the platform's growing to anywhere near the level they were hoping it would. Mm-hmm. Now, I have views on that, and to be fair, you could just look at our back catalogue over the last year to see what our views on why that might be, and where the responsibility lies. Google,
I mean that is,
I think they just don't. It looks like for the consumer end, they know they've got good tech there, but they haven't been able to sell it to the consumer in the way they'd like.
Yeah.
So now they're no longer trying as hard.
Yeah, I think that's the crux of a lot of Stadia's problems. Is, as you allude to there, I think you're completely right. The article actually goes on to say there is plenty of staff who work on the Stadia team, who are passionate about this project. They're doing their damn hardest to succeed. And we said that all along. We say it nearly every other week on the show. Like, the people who work there, they will be passionate, enthusiastic people, not only about gaming, but like making their job and their career go on to bigger and better things every single day. And I think you're totally right. Like, we haven't heard from Phil Harrison. It's non-excusable. The leader of the team has said jack shit on social media. He's not been at anything. He was at the Game Awards. We didn't see him for ages, and that's bad leadership for me. He doesn't have any visibility. But that aside, you've got to imagine he wants this to do well because it's his job. It's just another rung on the Phil Harrison ladder of, there's PlayStation, you messed up with PlayStation Home, was it? And then he went to somewhere else and that didn't work out, and then he ended up at Stadia. He's been
at both Microsoft and Sony, so two of the biggest players in the gaming industry. And then he stepped up to lead Stadia, which I'm sure he believed he could lead it to getting on par with Sony and Xbox. And it hasn't happened, so that's a huge dent in his reputation. So the better Stadia does, the better he looks. Now, I think I don't know what he's like as a leader to work for, but as a consumer who's looking at him as the head of this product that I'm investing in, he's been absolutely garbage. He just hasn't.
I mean, he's been non-existent
at the time of recording. He hasn't. He himself has not addressed this article.
I mean, he hasn't tweeted out since like March 2021, maybe. So, but without getting all on Phil, because again, he's moved back to London apparently, so he's in our neck of the woods now. So watch it, Phil. That sounds like a threat. That wasn't a threat. That was more of just a welcome home. Welcome back to London. We don't condone
welcome
that.
home.
Don't know why I said that. It's the beer talking. Apparently, I'm an aggressive drunk. No, that's not really why. So to go back,
he's not an aggressive drunk.
I'm not. I'm not even drunk. I've only had 2. Or am I just a lightweight? Either way, we digress too much on my drinking habits. So, back to the article, Richie. Google Stream, I don't mind that as a brand name. If they're looking to rebrand it or reposition it, it works. It makes sense. We know.
I don't think it's a rebranding or repositioning. I think Stadia is the consumer-focused gaming platform. Google Stream is the underlying tech. Because they're selling these things as separate entities now, they just needed a name for it.
Indeed. So, speaking of selling entities, Google apparently, from the article, ended conversations with Peloton to be a back-end provider for games running on the fitness company's bikes. 3 people familiar with the situation have said Peloton unveiled the first of those games, titled Lane Break, in the summer and ran a closed demo late last year that was supported by Google's technology. So no one knew about that. That flew under the radar. The AT&T stuff we obviously knew about because AT&T confirmed the Arkham Knight running. But interesting. If anyone out there is on a Peloton, let's go Peloton. That's the thing, right? If anyone's spot a ridiculous expensive gymnastic bike, let us know how Lane Break plays. Is there achievements in it? Does it work with a keyboard and mouse?
It must be hard to play a game while exercising.
It's probably... it's called Lane Breaks. It's probably like the faster you go, it moves your character on screen, or it's a virtual world. We don't know. Again, I know some of the gym things, but without digressing too far into that one, that's a deal. Don't know how much money it was worth, but again, it's proof that this commodity can be sold piecemeal as a cloud business. Okay, that's the Peloton deal. They also pitch, which I think is the more interesting story, which feeds into our second story of the week, the technology to Bungie as well. So the developers behind Destiny, of course, a launch title on Google Stadia, with arguably one of the biggest player bases, still churning out content. We're going to talk about all of that as story number 2. They pitched it to Bungie as well, and they said they essentially wanted Bungie to have a platform of its own. And under the proposal, Bungie would own the content, control the front-end experience, but Google would power the technology that's beamed to the game's the users' screens. So it's hard to get into this without not talking about the other Bungie stuff that's going on.
Well, I just don't know why Bungie would be particularly interested in this, because Destiny's already pretty much everywhere and is already running on Stadia, so why have it launch it in another place for people to interact with?
Again, when it's the middleman. I think it's cutting out. If you want to play Destiny, just play it on your phone. You don't need a Xbox, a PlayStation, a PC. I just click this link.
But Google still be wanting the cut as whether it's on Google Stream or on Stadia. The only difference would be largely branding.
That is the big difference, though.
It is, and I suppose Stadia comes with a lot of baggage, but
The reality is, if they can see value in saying,
yeah,
he's the Destiny app, play Destiny through the Destiny app, done. Like that, I feel that would get infinitely more players than Stadia has.
Even if it's literally the same thing.
I mean, again, to lean into story number 2, Bungie announced this week they've got over 1 million pre-orders for the new Witch Queen, Lord of the Rings, DLC coming up. 1 million pre-orders, Richie. The game only has 5,000 players on Stadia, so if you can leverage Destiny through direct cutting out the Stadia baggage, 1 million pre-orders for a game that's 5+ year old. That's amazing.
Actually, I suppose because of the baggage Stadia has, if you can just turn around and people who only play Destiny, you can play Destiny on your phone, through your browser on your PC using Bungie's new cloud service. I could see that I could see that bringing more players in. I'm not sure though, because I think one of the problems I think Stadia's had is everyone just gets stuck in the ways, like either a PlayStation player, Xbox player, or PC player. I don't know. I think one of the struggles Stadia had is like finding that niche to kind of getting people to get out of their habits. So it's really difficult to know how much this would cost. But I suppose if Google are offering it as basically a white label service rather than Bungie having to develop something themselves and host it themselves, it's something where it's a lot easier to take the risk on. Yeah.
I mean, as far as risk goes, Richie, like Destiny is one of the best games running on Stadia. It's been the best supported. They've always got the DLC out day and date. As far as I'm aware, they're always up to date with patches. And the article goes on to say the conversations between Google and Bungie made considerable headway, according to a person familiar with the plans. Now, like you said, if they can if the game runs arguably amazingly well, and they can just pivot this platform away, they already know the tech, they already have the game running on the tech. It's just a case of putting up a different storefront, brand it with Destiny, and pitch it to the masses. And then, because it has crossplay, it's interesting to think how that, again, we'll get into story number 2, but Destiny's, I think, going to have like another resurgence soon, and it certainly looks that way. So it's just interesting to think. We saw with the AT&T stuff that Google are just shipping this stuff out to anyone, and the Arkham Knight game, which is mentioned in the article as well. We thought that might mean the Batman games come over to Stadia. Clearly, whoever's negotiating these deals either doesn't do a good job or there's a timed limit on it. I still think we'll get the Batman games on Stadia eventually. It's just
with this article, I'm now less convinced. Because they're literally saying Stadia isn't a priority for them, so it's not. They're not going to risk Google Stream, a deal for Google Stream to something like AT&T to prop up Stadia. That's my view on this at the moment now, in light of this article. Because I think that Google are hedging the bets now on Google Stream and not Stadia. They'll support Stadia, but they're not pushing it anymore. The final deal that's discussed, no surprise, is actually a similar deal to the AT&T one with Capcom, the publisher of popular Resident Evil. Of course, we got the 2 Resident Evil games last year. Probably one of the biggest games of the year, one of the biggest wins for Stadia in 2021. And they were going to do demos of Capcom's titles, like Resident Evil, running on Stadia's tech. So again, white labeling to the max. I'm no doubt those discussions were part of the deal to bring Resident Evil over. We'll give you a discount if you bring us Village. They've done their end. Who knows what that looks like? Because of course, Resident Evil runs on the Nintendo Switch in Japan, on cloud, not via Stadia, but 7 was demoed, and we'll get into our theories and ideas. But that's the end for the proposition, or the propositions. It goes on to say about the key thing would be not to spend millions on big titles, and exclusives will be out of the question. So that's kind of another kind of like damning quote, really. It's cost mitigation. They're not. They've tried to. I think they've tried a couple of times to throw big bags of cash at some big titles, and I don't think it's paid off for them in the way they were hoping. We're looking at Resident Evil, Cyberpunk. They're probably the main 2, to be honest. Probably even the FIFA, the sports games, FIFA, Madden, where they've chucked bags of cash at it. It hasn't got the return. So they're going, well, we're not going to do that anymore. And exclusives are basically that, only turned up another level, because then you're also paying so that no one else can have it. So again, this all reads to me as Stadia's not dead. We're not closing it down. We're just not going to invest in it the way it goes. We're going to let it kind of not even. One of the words that came to my mind when I was first reading it was managed decline, but I think that's wrong. I don't think they're trying to see it slowly wean people off Stadia. I think they're just happy for Stadia to sit there in the background ticking over, because every time they make a sale, that money is going back to paying off the development costs of the tech.
Yeah.
So as long as it's not costing them, as long as they bring in more money for it being there than it would to run, as long as you're making that small profit, if you exclude development costs, the operation costs are mitigated, then I think they'll just let it continue to tick over, and in probably the hopes that it will grow. Yeah, slowly, very slowly.
And I do honestly believe, we know the tech's great. We've said a million times. There's even people who play xCloud, big Xbox fans, and people who play Lunar in the States and stuff. And it's undoubtedly the best cloud gaming technology out there. But as a gamer and as a consumer, there's loads of stuff in this article which is just kind of damning for the future. Patrick Seybold, a Google spokesperson, we've seen Patrick make statements several times across the last year or so. Reading straight from the statement, we announced our intentions of helping publishers and partners deliver games directly to gamers last year, which they did. That was the February closure of Stadia Games Entertainment and the shift towards white labelling as such and business partners as selling the tech. And back to the quote, and I've been working towards that. The first manifestation was our partnership with AT&T, who I was offering Batman available to the customers for free. While we won't be commenting on any rumours and speculation regarding other industry partners, we are still focused on bringing great games to Stadia in 2022. With 200 titles currently available, this is where it gets a bit kind of salesman-y, we expect to see another 100 plus games arrive on the platform this year, and currently have 50 games available on Pro. So is part of that breakdown. There's a few takeaways for me. It's great, Pro is probably better than it's ever been. It's mini version of Game Pass now. If you sign up to Stadia now, you get 50 games to claim, some great, some indie titles. It is, if you sign up to Stadia day one now, you're getting a hell of a deal for your Pro subscription, undoubtedly. The library's now 200 strong. Again, it's better than it's ever been. It's got every single time they add a game, it's better than it's ever been.
Stadia, in terms of what they're offering, is the best it's ever been, just by more titles that come on. Stadia Pro's grown with more titles. Mm-hmm. The issue is they don't have any system sellers.
The titles, saying there's 100 games coming, we're already 1 month down for the year, so they have 11 months to bring us probably 90 plus games now.
Yeah,
but they don't tell us about them, and that's the same thing. He says in there, we don't comment on rumours and speculation regarding other industry partners. If you came out and said we're working with Sony on something, or we're working with Nintendo, or Square Enix, or EA again, for all we know, we're never seeing another EA title on the platform. That is
We're not asking you to comment on rumours or speculation. We're asking you to announce deals. It's a very different thing. It's yes, we are bringing EA games. Yes, we are in talks with Square Enix to bring, I don't know, more of their JRPG lineup. Mm-hmm. We are in continued talks with Capcom.
Yeah. Again,
with Konami. That's not rumours and speculation, because if you are in talks with Konami to bring a title over, and you announce we are in talks with Konami, that's not rumour or speculation. You're just telling people what you're up to. And then it kind of sets the expectation, because we have another 100 plus games coming this year. It means absolutely nothing unless we know what the games are.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing, is the 20% focus on consumer and us as gamers. I'm going to say it, but if you ain't getting any AAA games this year, I'm not interested. I'm a gamer. I want the latest. And I know it works for some people. I know the Pro games are great for those with family, and they love the convenience. And I love the convenience. I love playing FIFA on my phone. It's so easy for me, and it doesn't run any of my PC. I can jump between devices. It's fantastic. However,
there's games I never would have played if it wasn't for Stadia Pro, and that I've really enjoyed.
Yeah. 100% agree, stand by that. And again, we absolutely love the tech and the way it functions. We love the fact that we can buy a game without a subscription model. We can just buy it and have it like we do with other consoles. But again, looking ahead, we said I put out a tweet the other day which had all of the big third-party, second-party games this year, and we had Extraction at the top, 10, 12 other titles, and then Avatars, Frontiers of Pandora at the bottom. There's about 10 games in there that I would play. I would pay £50-60 for this year. I know nothing about. Yeah, I guarantee they're coming to my PlayStation. I guarantee they're coming to Xbox. Hell, probably half of them are coming to Game Pass day one. And here I am sat here chatting about a platform that's in its third year, and we don't know if one of those 12, if any, are coming. And apparently there's lack of focus. So even now the people higher up apparently aren't telling me they're coming. So do I just sit in silence? Do they sit in silence? And then the days will come and go. And actually there's a story in the news this week that says evidently it looks like Dying Light 2 isn't coming. The release date's passed now. So that's the second arguably biggest AAA title of the year. Great. Go play your PlayStation.
I wouldn't be surprised if at least probably 90 to 95 of these 100 plus games are
outright games.
Yeah, things that aren't going to cost Google a lot of money to put on the platform. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be as negative about the situation, but this is literally what you've told me.
Yeah, and we love it. We love indie games. Like indie games.
Yeah, same. I'm not taking anything away from indie games, but indie games don't sell a platform. It's just
no one's out there buying a PS5 to play Shovel Knight or something. As phenomenal as Shovel Knight is,
I imagine some people probably did buy the Switch for Shovel Knight. Like it does have that. That's got a certain rep.
Any indie game, because again, they're all great, but like you said, system sellers. And again, when you look at not apples to oranges and stuff, but Nintendo Switch just released their figures this week for like how many copies of Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, Arceus, like they're
Mario Kart 8.
45 million or something. That's crazy. But again, we digress. It's all about the games, and as gamers, it's literally in our kind of hobby title, gamers. And if you aren't bringing the games that I want to game on, then I ain't gaming here.
That's it.
So, and I'm sure many of our viewers and listeners will echo that sentiment, and that's just the truth of this report that's came out. Is if they're focusing 20%, that's probably as much interest you get from me. 20%.
I'm in the fortunate enough position that I have a PS5 and a PS4, and the way I've actually set my games consoles up, I actually have my PS4 on my desk, so I can use remote play to play PS5 games in my office. Like how basically I took the idea of Stadia, whether I'm going to play on my PC or play on my Chromecast, and converted it into using PlayStation's technology. Mm-hmm. But not everyone can afford a PlayStation 5. So these are the people I feel sorry for, the ones who've got back into gaming for Stadia and now have been told by Google that we're not as interested in you anymore.
Yeah.
The people that Google have brought back into gaming.
Yeah.
Who just kind of justify the £500 to buy a PlayStation or an Xbox,
or even get hold of one. That's the biggest thing. This should have been capitalised on the launch of a new generation, the chip shortage.
They just haven't utilised that time, that the chip shortage, because there would have been loads of people who would have been willing to give cloud gaming a go if you pushed it hard enough, while they wait for a new GPU or they can't get their hands on the next console.
Mm-hmm. But so to continue, Google apparently also struggles to hold on to its users. Harrison and the other executives set a goal to reach 1 million monthly active users by the end of 2020, in fact, which they missed by about 25%. So that does give us an indication that there are 750,000 active Stadia players based on that.
At that time.
At that time, 2020.
Yeah.
Then we had a pandemic and everything else happened, but essentially, in quoting from the article, retention was a real problem, this person said. So this is probably people jumped in to try Stadia Pro, they jumped in to try maybe the launch of Cyberpunk. That was 2020?
You know what helps with retention?
Games.
A fucking roadmap. Tell people why they should stick around.
Yeah, that is true.
That's it.
Yeah, and again, to take a roadmap very literal, if I'm about to drive to London and I don't know which way to go, I ain't going to get there probably. So if you want me at the end of this tether in 10 months' time, tell me what's at the end of it. Give me a reason to hang around. That's how you retain people.
There's plenty of reasons to jump into and give Stadia a try, but you haven't given people a reason to stick around.
I mean, the word retention, Richie. Like, anyone who works in retentions for any business out there in the world, your job is to retain customers. How do you do that? By offering something to retain them. And
give them a reason to not leave.
Yeah. You tell me FIFA 23 is coming. If you tell me we're getting, I don't know, all the Square Enix titles this year, we're getting Lego Star Wars, I could go on. I would be like, okay, cool. I know I'd rather play it in the cloud. But we digress. Let's see. What else is left in this juicy article from Business Insider? Challenging industry, yada, yada, yada. Microsoft buying everyone there is in existence, yada, yada, yada. Industry shifting, etc. Lots of money spent on bringing Red Dead Redemption and other blockbuster titles. That kind of pleased the higher-ups with the bad return, yada, yada, yada. Cloud tech is great, we know that. Current and former employees said the priority was now on proof of concept work for Google Stream and securing white label deals. And this is where the bad quote comes in. One estimated about 20% of the focus was on the consumer platform. And I quote, there are plenty of people internally who would love to keep it going, so they are working really hard to make sure it doesn't die, they said. But they are not the ones writing the checks. And that's how the article ends. Now, before all doom and gloom totally sets in, folks, Stadia had a rebuttal. They actually responded, like I said at the beginning of the story. They tweeted out across socials, Facebook, Twitter, I'm sure TikTok, I guess, and other youthful social sites, in a series of messages, and I'll read again, quote, if you hear one thing, hear this. The Stadia team is working really hard on a great future for Stadia and cloud gaming. We hope you agree, and we know the proof is in the playing. We're particularly proud of offering 50 games to Pro members in February, with more than 100 titles to join Stadia in 2022 and plenty of free play days for everyone to enjoy. There's also more feature goodness coming to Stadia Pro 2, stuff we can't talk about yet, but we promise to share when we can. Have a great weekend, Stadians. Now,
I don't doubt anything they're saying, but it rings hollow when you're not providing any evidence of it, and Stadia haven't provided any evidence of that they're backing their own platform for a year.
Yeah, I know we said we rested on this for like a 24 hours. When I read this tweet, I was like, it did make me not smile a little bit, but it made me go, okay. Like, that's probably the most honest tweet they've ever put out. Like, in terms of, like, I read it as though it was, like, coming from the heart. Like, someone was saying, like, look, we're getting a lot of shit right now. We've been quiet. We know. Like, we are aware of it.
What this tweet did for me is remind me that there is... I've already said a couple of times, I absolutely am convinced there's people who are working at Google, are passionate about Stadia, see a bright future for it, but are basically getting hamstrung. Mm-hmm. And I feel sorry for them people, because there must be nothing more frustrating when you're going to work, you're working your hardest, and then it's just not like your boss basically, or your boss's boss just isn't giving you the resources to do the work that you need to do. Yeah.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, it starts off saying the Stadia team, which goes back to it's not Google. Yeah. It's not Google. It's not the Google team. It's not the higher ups who write the checks. It's the people who are gamers and passionate about gaming who work for Stadia. They get it. They know how well it can do. So, it's the hand, like you said, the hands are tied by the money, the money flow, and the investment in everything from marketing to games to infrastructure.
Yeah, I always try to remind myself and other people when you get this sort of like, as gamers, we get very passionate about our hobby. When we get very strong negative news like that, the Business Insider article, that you have to remember the humans behind the business as well, because Google isn't just this faceless entity. Stadia isn't this faceless entity. There are people working there, and the majority of them, none of this is their fault, or probably the decisions they would be making.
100%, yeah. All the awesome people who work there, like formerly Grace, Shaka, Chris, Patrick, all of that. Even Phil, like, again. Like,
that's why I started off like talking like I genuinely think that if Phil could, this would not be the direction things are going, because I think, again, even if it is just a purely selfish reason, his reputation is now tied to Google Stadia's success.
But I think, yeah, even in summary, it's like, yeah, if you asked any of those individuals who work there, would you like more games on the platform? Yes. Would you like more marketing? Yes. Do you think you should do different colour controllers? Yes. Will you upgrade your server blades? Yes. Like, there's no one there, surely, who's going to deny all that. Unfortunately, Phil doesn't respond to the hardware division anymore. He now calls up to the subscription model. So even Phil's boss has changed, which is an interesting caveat to the story. But yeah, I think, again, you can read this a lot of ways. I'm glad they've responded. Is it a response with any detail, really? Or is it a bit of lip service to kind of like just maybe quash a little bit of worry to its audience? Because again, consumer might only be 20% of their focus, but it's bringing in some of their money at least as well. So you don't want to shit the bed completely.
Yeah, well, I think they're being very careful to not say Stadia is dead, but they can, because Stadia isn't dead. Objectively, Stadia is not dead.
It was never alive, technically, if we're going to be that
particular. Google are still supporting it, just not to the degree that I think most people who are using the platform would like to see.
And I think there's a lot of people in the community. Again, we're all humans as well. We get passionate about this. We get down. We go up. We get high.
Which is why we wanted like a good day before we sat down to record anything.
It'd be interesting, even if an extra week, how different our takes will be. But I know some of the big community members. I know Bill from Stadia Cast, Dan, the lead, the owner of Stadia Source website, where you go for all your news and reviews. Like, we're some of the biggest, most passionate fans of this technology, and even they've came out and kind of said that these messages, they're great for a response, but they don't really have any meat behind them. Yeah,
that's it. There's no substance. It's like it's great that you guys are so passionate about this, but we've been saying for a while, you need to show us what. It's all well and good the guys working for Google Stadia going, yeah, we're passionate about this. We think it's good. We're going to keep cracking on. We need to see some what is it. Where you're going? What's the direction you're going in? Because Google have just announced that they're pretty much going a different direction.
Yeah, you need to prove to us why we should stay around. Like, earn that trust back, and you can do that through talking to us, communication, games, a presence in any way, shape, or form. A connect. It's a blog more than twice a fortnight. Sorry, once a fortnight.
This statement, this tweet is useful, but what I think it needs Phil Harrison to get in front of a camera, to talk about this, to do the rounds, to go to places like the IGNs and the GameSpots of the world and do interviews, and just be honest and go, yeah, Stadia's still alive. We are scaling back in our consumer focus as we're also taking on this other stuff. Be the leader for the platform. Get out in front. It's going to be brutal for him. I don't envy him doing it, but I think it really needs it.
That's why you get paid the big bucks, right?
Yeah, I think that's what Stadia needs right now if they want to convince people to actually stick around, is to get in front of a microphone, get in front of a camera, and take questions. Whether you're going to stand up and do your own Stadia Connect, or you're just going to do a tour of like the media outlets and talk about it.
Yeah, but then this is where you've got to worry that if they're only budgeting for 20% for us, do they have the budget to pull a Connect together? Even though I genuinely believe if you give us the footage, I could make a Connect. Give me the fancy transitions and I'll do the voiceover for it.
It doesn't have. Well, you don't have to do your own. You don't have to do your own thing. Just go visit places.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be how many journalists would kill for an interview.
Yeah, to just, especially in the back of this news.
Yeah, go see Jason Schreier or someone. He'll interview the shit out of you. Yeah. But Richie, I think we've squeezed this story dry. Yeah. Let's get on to some other interesting news. Story number 2. 45 minutes into the show, Sony have bought a Bungie. They've bounced back from the Xbox acquisition of Activision Blizzard with a caveat. This was in the works for 5 to 6 months.
Yeah, oh God, yeah.
So it wasn't an actual response. It just seems very timely that it comes a week after the Xbox
I think
news.
the timing of the announcement might be a bit of a response.
I mean, yeah, if they were sitting on this little Easter egg and they're like, you know what, just let the story out to talk about it.
The deal's far enough along for us to actually be willing to talk about this in public. Oh, we now have a reason to talk about this in public.
Definitely. So we alluded to it in story number 1. But yeah, story number 2, the makers of Destiny and Halo, which is another ironic wrinkle of this story.
I want to bring this up because I saw it was from the Sun newspaper in the UK, posting a headline saying Halo developer bought by Sony, Xbox fans selling Xboxes. This is like, Bungie haven't developed Halo in years and no one's going to sell an Xbox. They scraped together all the money for the new Xbox and they're not going to sell it over one game, especially when Microsoft just bought Activision Blizzard and Bethesda, etc. It's like, I didn't read the article, I just saw the headline and went, oh, for God's sakes, do better journalism.
I know. I mean, they don't even own the IP. Like Halo.
Yeah, that's it. It's like
Microsoft.
That was the thing that caught my attention. Like Halo developer Bungie, but it's like, no, that's wrong.
You've got to laugh. But to clarify for the article, for those who are somehow unaware, Sony will be buying Bungie for $3.6 billion, which seems like a drop in the ocean compared to
Pocket
Microsoft.
Change.
Yeah,
Pocket
compared
change.
to Microsoft's 78 point whatever billion. This is actually almost the difference, Richie, that people were rounding up the Microsoft amount. But we joke. Of course, Sony Interactive Entertainment announced a deal to acquire Bungie for $3.6 billion, the latest in a string of big-ticket consolidation deals in the video game industry for January alone. After the deal closes, Bungie will be an independent subsidiary of SIE, Sony Interactive Entertainment, run by a board of directors consisting of current CEO and Chairman Pete Parsons and the rest of the studio's management team. Sony has said Bungie will remain a multi-platform studio with the option to self-publish and reach players wherever they choose to play. At present, the studio is working on maintaining Destiny 2, expanding the Destiny franchise, and working on the new IP. And I quote from Jim Ryan, CEO of Sony, "We've had a strong partnership with Bungie since the inception of Destiny franchise, and I couldn't be more thrilled to officially welcome the studio to the PlayStation family. This is an important step in our strategy to expand the reach of PlayStation to a much wider audience. We understand how vital Bungie's community is to the studio, and we look forward to working to support them and maintain and remain independent and continue to grow. Like Bungie, our community, PlayStation DNA," he goes on a little bit about that. But essentially, Richie, it's a weird one because initially they put out a statement saying everything will be the same. Destiny will not be leaving Xbox, it won't be leaving PlayStation, and Bungie will be independent of PlayStation. So it's not first party; it's just owned by them.
Yeah, that's it. I think Sony are looking at this and going, you know what, we're not going to rock the boat on this, but I think in a day like this is always the but. Like, as long as things are going well, you're independent. Yeah. If things are suddenly not going well, we're reining you in. Because at the moment, like, this is basically just a money spinner for Sony. You might start getting a bit of crossover, like DLC. You might get a Kratos skin in Destiny. It opens up opportunities for that, for like them sort of like exclusive, like, and more interaction between Sony Interactive Entertainment developers like Naughty Dog, Guerrilla, Sucker Punch, etc. with Bungie. But
now, there's loads of caveats. So again, Bungie, creators of Halo, then they were acquired by Microsoft in 2000. Then they went independent again, and then they were picked up by Activision, and then they went independent again. And now they're with Sony. I think the reason why there's probably contracts in place saying they are going to remain independent, they're not going to be like an SIE studio, and they have the rights to self-publish, is probably their experience with Activision Blizzard. Yeah. They don't want to like lock themselves into that situation. South. Yeah. Now, the way I look at this, and the way I've listened to a few gaming podcasts this week, the general consensus I feel is Sony, the way they market PlayStation is it's undoubtedly the home of third-person action-adventure story-driven games. Horizon, The Last of Us, Uncharted, God of War, Spider-Man, Ratchet and Clank, like those are some phenomenal, if not some of the best games of the last decade. However, all single-player. You buy it, you play it, you're done. They don't have any lengthy longevity in terms of income for money. DLC aside, some games get that, but Bungie we alluded to it in story number 1. Destiny 2, 1 million pre-orders for a game that's been out for 5+ years now, with a thirsty fan base. They have games all over the place. These are the kings of games as a service content. In fact, they pioneered games as a service model.
Well,
with Warcraft and some others.
Yeah, I was going to say there's like games as a service. Like, yeah, they're the most successful like MMO in recent years. Mm-hmm. Like MMOs, there was that hot moment in time where after on the back of the success of Warcraft, everything was becoming an MMO, and Destiny was one of the few to actually nail it, actually land it and stick around. I think this is just basically going to be a money spinner for Sony. Like every bit of DLC, every bit of new content you buy, every new shader for your weapons. Sony just going to take a cut of that and happy days, and it expands Sony's repertoire because while they are the masters of the third-person action-adventure genre, that's a niche that I think they need to push out of, and that's probably what motivated this purchase. We need to get more shooters involved. We need to get some more multiplayer stuff involved.
I think just the general internet infrastructure, like we've alluded to there, they need like this online presence of getting content out. Like Fortnite do it with Epic, EA do it with Apex, Minecraft does it, and with Microsoft owned Minecraft does it. Game Pass is doing it as well, and Sony they don't have these things. In shooters, we don't know what's going to happen long term with Activision Blizzard and Call of Duty and stuff, but Microsoft have every single shooter pretty much in their wheelhouse. Killzone's not a thing, Resistance isn't a thing anymore, and I think they're bringing on a team who knows internet content and multiplayer and networking and community. And again, we should mention throughout all this, it will stay on Stadia. Like the platform, they're not going to mess. And I think that's the ironic thing. It goes back to the previous story about Stadia trying to sell the tech to Destiny. In your wildest dreams, Richie, is there a chance the team at Bungie, now part of PlayStation, or soon to be, speak to like Jim Ryan, the team at Sony, and go, you know what? PlayStation now runs like trash. This Stadia stuff, we've had Destiny run on Stadia for nearly 3 years. They get all the updates out, they get all the content out. They've got 5,000 plus players. Not the greatest, we understand. But Sony, look at this white labeling tech Stadia are doing. You could revolutionize PlayStation Now, or whatever this Spartacus thing will look like, by leveraging Stadia's tech. And what have you just done? You just bought a team of hundreds of employees who know how to work on it. Could it be a match made in heaven, or are we just silver lining here?
I think it would be a fantastic deal for actually all parties involved, to be perfectly honest. Google get the big partner that they're looking for the Google Stream. Destiny, well, I think it's no difference to them. They're on Stadia on PlayStation. I don't think, as long as people are buying Destiny, I don't think they care too much. Mm-hmm. But for Sony, they currently have a cloud partnership with Microsoft, so which means that PlayStation Now subscriptions is probably putting a bit of that subscription is putting money into the pockets of Microsoft. Mm-hmm. So they're strengthening their direct competitor to a degree. Although it's hard to know with these massive corporations how much do they see each other as competitors, or like, well, one day we're the worst enemies, next day we're the best of friends. It's like,
or I think it's just the fan base that makes it sound out like they're worst enemies. Like they all make money, like all tides raise all boats, so they all make money together, but unless you Stadia.
The underlying tech in Stadia is arguably the best in the business. So if that was to run PlayStation Now, with it being, I think it does put Sony in a stronger position. It could basically resurrect PlayStation Now, which Sony, a couple of years ago, looked like Sony was putting the nails in the coffin of PlayStation Now. Yeah. And then with the launch of Stadia and the announcements of xCloud and Amazon Luna, suddenly they started pulling them nails back out.
Well, yeah, because Sony were they purchased Gaikai, who were like the leaders in cloud at the time, and they've not really done anything with it. They've owned Gaikai for nearly a decade, and PlayStation Now, like you said, is just kind of like PlayStation is my number one platform, 100%, all day, every day, always probably will be. I haven't looked at PlayStation Now bar a free trial a few years ago. I think I checked out a few games where the interface is crap, it runs bad, the library's not amazing. Why would I want this? And you're totally right. Yeah, I think match made in heaven would be Stadia's tech, PlayStation's games and IP, and the guarantee of AAA games coming, of course, and a roadmap, and all other things aside. But it's just interesting how the whole Bungie Stadia thing is unraveling, and I think ideal scenario would be that, but we might just be thinking. I think too wide.
I think honestly, the Bungie Google deal is probably now off the table.
Probably.
It might have been off the table for months. Like, we don't really know the time scale of these conversations.
Yeah.
But
you never know. I mean, you've got to imagine, like, massive conglomerates like Google and Sony talk and go like, hey, we've got this great thing. Hey, let's make millions together. You want to do that? Yeah, like...
It depends how much, like, because Microsoft saw Google as being, like, the upstart coming into the industry and felt a bit pressured by them.
Uh-huh.
And like literally, Phil Spencer's on the record saying he sees like Google and Amazon as the major competition going forward.
Yeah, Apple.
Sony might be feeling the same way. It's like, you know what? We're okay with them guys over Microsoft. We know what they're about. They've been around. We know that there's space for both of us to coexist in a very healthy manner. We can all make money. Then these upstarts, Amazon and Google, are trying to muscle in the space and going. They look over Sony and Microsoft, look at each other and go, let's take them down.
You'll never really know, dear. Like we said with the Activision buyout, we said in last week's show, like, will all the Japanese companies band together and say, we're not going to sell out, money talks, we don't want Chinese investment. There's a story not even in the doc this week, Richie, but I know some Arab Emirates Dubai investment just went into Capcom and a couple of other companies, like millions more, like Tencent keep doing, and the industry's shifting so much, and like if this month's anything to show, it's not ending.
One of the things that's always worth remembering that makes the gaming industry so complex is developers are all over the world, and culturally and legally, Japan's very different to the US to the EU, and you have to kind of figure all this out across multiple countries how it all works, and so which is why all the big acquisitions Microsoft have done are mainly US or European based studios, which I think are legally closer than they are to Japan, so they're probably easier to do. But
it's an interesting one. Again, consolidations, deals, money talks, money matters. Who knows what the future will hold, but I'd like to think there's a world out there.
The future, in the end of the future, there's only just going to be one studio, and it's just going to go games. And that's it. They produce all the games.
I told you, it's Taco Bell.
Yeah.
If you've watched Demolition Man,
Taco Bell
wins the franchise.
Well, KFC have got a PC coming out.
I know. But to kind of like wrap all this up, Sony did wrap up by saying this is not the last acquisition, so keep your eyes peeled for more. But I'd love to see a world where Destiny talks to Sony makes a deal with Google, we get Stadia on the Switch, and people can play Destiny via Google Cloud on the Switch, on whatever app. There's great deals back and forth, and we all get rich and fat together. Ha ha ha.
Well, we don't. We just buy all the stuff.
Games. We get the games in the cloud too.
Yeah,
so
we do.
We benefit as consumers. But that is probably it for Sony and Bungie right now. An interesting tidbit, I guess we should say, was Tom Warren did tweet out from GamesIndustry.biz that the Destiny players right now on the 1st of February, when he did a concurrent players count, was 860,000, 275,000 on Xbox, 355,000 on PlayStation, 224,000 on Steam, and a mere 5,390 on Stadia, which gives Stadia, in theory, about 0.6% of the Destiny mindshare. Yeah. And you know what, Richie? I saw a lot of people mocking Stadia in the comments for that thread. No surprise.
Yeah, it's quite easy to mock them with them numbers when you put them in direct comparison.
Yeah, but you know what I say to that? The games industry in 2021 was worth $180 billion. If Stadia has 0.6% of that amount of market share, that's a shit ton of money still. So watch this space still, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm sure we'll get more stats and figures as time goes on. But it's interesting to think Destiny is a benchmark. And surprise, surprise, there's more than four of us. And me and Richie will be checking out Destiny this Thursday as part of our live stream event. So we'll add another two people to that list.
Call to arms, guys. We're going to bump these numbers to 6,000.
Yeah, we need to get it up there. Play Destiny 2 on Stadia. But we digress once again. At the hour mark, Richie, let's move into some game talk. We've talked about studios, we've talked about acquisitions, we've talked doom and gloom. We've brought it back around. I've finished my beer now. Let's talk about some games.
Let's talk.
News from the ever-faithful Ubisoft have announced OddBallers is coming and launching on March 24th. OddBallers is a new dodgeball multiplayer party game where just about anything you can find can be thrown at your opponents. Launching March 24th on PC via blah 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 Ubisoft Connect, Switch, PS4, Xbox, Amazon Luna, PlayStation 5, Series X via compatibility mode, and the one and only Google Stadia. The game can be played solo or in multiplayer, up to 4 players locally and 6 online. Players will dodge, block, and throw items across 3 unique environments, each of which features more than 30 different arenas, plenty of mini-games, where progress travels from arena to arena, win mini-games, earn medals, and convert your match points to win.
Right. If there isn't an achievement in this game for throwing a wrench at someone, they've missed a trick.
Yeah, they've got to lean into the dodgeball references, don't they?
Yeah.
Throw balls, chickens, cacti, or just about anything else you can pick up. Environmental hazards like electric fences, explosive gas tanks, and tennis ball launchers will also offer different ways to take out your opponents. No doubt there's going to be plenty of rewards across the Ubisoft Connect, Ubisoft Points, all that probably NFT shit you can get. There'll be some of that in there, I'm sure. But OddBallers, Richie, interesting little game. It was teased about a year ago. I don't actually think it's made by a Ubisoft studio because I can't find anything in terms of trailer content on their website or anything anywhere yet. So it's obviously a little smaller indie title. It looks... I'm trying to think what it reminds me of a little bit. I've remembered. It's Outcasters. It reminds me of the Stadia exclusive game from Splash Damage, Outcasters, but with dodgeball arena fighting as opposed to special effect. I guess special. It's literally Outcasters, but with dodgeball. Not bad. We like Outcasters here at Helix Cloud Games. But that should be out March 24th, part of Ubisoft Connect. We'll no doubt be playing it with you wonderful people out there, as it is up to 6-player online multiplayer, so check that one out. Second up, Game of the Week, Dawn of Monsters has been touted for release on Stadia from the developers Way Forward. The Kaiju invasion is coming. Dawn of the Monsters, the co-op Kaiju beat-em-up from 13am Games and Way Forward, arrives on Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, PC, and Stadia this March. There's a story trailer up right now to view. Essentially, the Kaiju. Is it Kaiju? Kaiju invasion is coming. Enormous beasts known as the Nephilim have devastated Earth, but humanity is fighting back with 4 titanic warriors of its own: Megadon, Ganira, Aegis Prime, and Tempest Galahad. The Titanic co-op beat 'em up. Looks like a little bit of Streets of Rage, Kaiju action, Richie. Godzilla, mech style, that kind of deal. Coming early 2022, aka this March. Not my type of game, but I appreciate it for what it does.
Yeah, same. Like, more games are good, so.
More games are good, of course, Richie. As we said in the first story, Stadia gets better and better with every game title that comes out. But you know what would be better, Richie? If more people could play those games.
Yeah, I mean,
if more people.
There's a whole continent of people who can't play Stadia.
There is indeed, because, ladies and gentlemen, Aussie alert. That's right, Stadia is now registered in Australia. We told you last week it's got some landmark trademarks have arrived for Brazil. It could be coming to South America. And I don't know what you're, Richie, but I feel like there's something in the water. There's loads of stuff on Reddit of all these registrations.
It's a weird news week for Stadia. Like, there's strong rumours of India and Brazil. Now we're getting strong evidence of Australia. But Google also caring less about Stadia than they have. It's like, what the...
It's very polarising. Of course, the wonderful people over at Reddit found this thread that Stadia has officially passed registration process in Australia. Google initially filed for the registration back in March 2019. Of course, the year Stadia launched.
That took a while.
It was when it was revealed at GDC, so it was literally, here it is, get the copyrights out, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
It's been rectified and passed as of today's date, or the date of the article, the 1st of February. And you can read the certification. There's a link over on the article, which basically gives you the full descriptive breakdown of what Stadia is, cloud gaming, what it entails, the copyright rules, who owns it, the tech, all that kind of stuff, all the legal jibber-jabber that you don't really care about. Now, it's not an indication that it may come out. These copyrights, of course, might just be being renewed. as businesses have to do to keep legal status. It's just very odd that it's all happening around the Brazil rumours. We've got Australia now. I feel like I've read something this week about another country, but I can't remember which one it was. But I got to ask, Richie, probably. Are we due an expansion into new territories?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, looks like Stadia, like Google. It's hard to not go back to the first story, and every time we talk about something like this, with Google reducing down to apparently down to 20%, the workforce and the Stadia team on the commercial end, getting more people. It's just getting more people on board. More people on board means more money coming into the consumer leg of Stadia, and this could be the kind of the shot in the arm that Stadia needs. To be honest, getting into new territories, so you suddenly get a new. You get if it is like Australia, India, Brazil. That's three massive countries who all have potential gamers who haven't been kind of become quite cynical, jaded and cynical with Stadia over the last couple of years, and we'll see Stadia as the platform it is rather than the platform we would like it to be.
Yeah, it gives them a chance at a fresh slate. But we've
that's it.
Discussed it in our Discord a little bit how the additional countries added to Europe last year, they've not really sorted them out yet in terms of marketing, and they don't have a logistical Google store set up for delivering stuff and import of the tech, and the Premier editions can't be purchased online. So how do you get your actually hands on Stadia to play? But
that
you're totally
seems
right.
More of a Google thing, because people on Discord saying that they've had to basically import a Pixel phone.
Yeah. Which shouldn't be the case. That's a whole story unto itself.
That's why I'm putting that caveat in. This seems to be more of a Google issue in terms of distribution, etc.
But I, for one, welcome our Australian friends and our Brazilian friends and any more countries that can be switched on, because you got to imagine the tech is just a case of flicking a switch somewhere, and the websites go live and they work. VPN, people play in Brazil using VPN, so it's.
I mean, you have to literally build the server farms in the country.
They exist. Google have server farms all over the planet.
They do, but you'd have to build the ones dedicated to Stadia, because the server farms they've got will be servicing other things, and gaming has very specific hardware as well.
That is true, but you got to imagine they haven't been sat around not preparing for expansion, because again, like you said, it's millions more people. You potentially unlike PlayStation, Xbox, who have to sell a box to millions of people. These just have to turn it on and market it. Not that the great.
Yeah, they don't have to think too much about distribution networks outside of controllers and stuff. But this, which they've already probably have for the other Google products, so it should be relatively. I'm hoping that this registration is kind of one of the last few checkboxes they need to actually launch it. Yeah,
to greenlit, and maybe one of them things, the features and stuff that they can't tell us just yet, is just around the corner. For all we know, we could round up February with the announcement that Australia, Japan, India, Brazil, it's all live, and then we see a flood of millions more people come in. We love to see that. So the world is their oyster, quite literally. Hopefully we'll see that soon. What we won't see soon, though, Richie, are some games. Unfortunately, we did have this in the doc earlier in the week. The Dying Light 2 launched this past Friday everywhere else, and there was a rumour that it may be coming to Stadia. Eagle-eyed viewers on the Dying Light 2 website had noticed that when you click in the pre-order section, the game version says Xbox, PlayStation, Epic, Techland, PC Store, Steam, and Stadia. It was then subsequently quickly removed from the website listing, possibly a typo. And it was found on all the different language versions of the website, so it wasn't just it wasn't a typo. It was actually in the coding for every language of every website, which has led to people
there could be some auto population stuff going there if they're all copying off one.
Yeah, it could just be a placeholder, of course, as well.
I really don't know. I'm not a web developer, so.
Yeah. However, I think it's safe to say, Richie, at the time of recording on the 5th of February, we are now one day out from the launch. We're one day past, the launch of Dying Light 2. It ain't out on Stadia. I think we can put this one to bed. It ain't coming anytime soon.
Yeah, I wonder if this was just copied off of a previous internal statement or something, and then maybe there was talks at one point for it to come to Stadia.
And this is and again, this is the difference. The Industry Biz article that came out criticising, lambasting, telling the future. How different would the atmosphere have felt this weekend if Dying Light 2 came out on Friday and everyone was out there playing Dying Light 2 in the cloud? I think it would go a long way to maybe like suppress some of the frustration, the anger, because it's like, well, they say they're only 20% focused, but we just got Dying Light 2 day and date.
Yeah.
And we didn't, so here we are.
The conversation will be very much more, okay, they're cutting down on things like the reason they're not marketing stuff is this is one of the ways they're trying to save resources so they can bring the games.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, well, Dying Light didn't come, so...
Yeah, exactly. Unless there's a surprise Stadia blog this Tuesday that says, oh, we're a few days late. There you go, everyone.
Yeah.
Why did we didn't just tell you it was coming? There was part of me, which again, it happens every time. I'm sure a lot of our viewers and listeners find it the same, is as these dates creep up on us, and it's like, it might just drop. It might just be a stealth drop. And then it's not. And it's like, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, well. I guess I'll go play on PlayStation or Xbox or wherever else. It's a shame. Again, back to my tweet about all the titles, but this should have been the second AAA title of the year to drop on the platform, and it wasn't. So that is strike one for 2 games, 1 down, 1 not coming. That's 50%.
I'm not sure what you're going with there. So you could argue this is strike 2 because it's missed 2 games.
No, strike 2 of the. I know it was a bad example, but you get it.
Like,
it's the second game, not. It's the second. I've got myself in a mix.
Let's move on.
Let's move on to another game that's not coming, but might be coming. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, of course, part of the Borderlands excitement, was. It's rumored to be coming to Stadia, because on the website there was a tiny little bit that said it was a GamerRant article. Where's it at? There it is, right at the very end. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands launches March 25th, 2022 on PC, PS4, PS5, Stadia, Xbox One, and Series X. From a reputable games website, however, is this enough to tell us, Richie, we're getting the Gearbox entry in the Borderlands franchise?
This article was published on December the 15th.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's relevant because it's been like
a while,
coming up to 2 months since this was published.
We've got Borderlands.
I want to be optimistic. I'm just not. I don't think this is coming. I think this might be another Dying Light situation where it's a typo that hasn't been picked up on.
Yeah, which again goes back to the 20% thing. We got Borderlands 3 from Gearbox. We've got all these other games from the Embracer Group. This game is from both those teams. That's another trip. That's strike 3, Richie.
Yeah, and again, even if it does come, my response is, great, looks awesome game, can't wait to play it. Why didn't you tell us about it?
Yep. And rounding out the game stories, Rocksteady's Suicide Squad, which we don't know is confirmed yet either, but I've got to imagine we're getting some kind of Warner Brothers games this year because of the Arkham Knight deal and the AT&T tech relationship. But we just don't know. Rocksteady's Suicide Squad, officially titled Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, was announced last August. It was a co-op, or it is a co-op open world game featuring the illustrious Suicide Squad as they take on the Justice League in a version of Metropolis never seen before, designed for up to 4 players. However, a report from Bloomberg and Jason Schreier has said people familiar with development now claim Warner Brothers has quietly delayed the game into 2023. No specific reason has been outlined. However, it's worth noting that the other titles like Gotham Knights and the Harry Potter game have recently had comments regarding this still coming out in 2022. However, left off the list was Suicide Squad, so interesting. However, we probably don't need to worry, Richie, because at 20% capacity, we probably shouldn't worry. Just like another game we probably shouldn't worry about is apparently GTA 6 is also in development. No shit. One of the biggest money-making games of all time is well into development at Rockstar, no doubt.
Yeah, it feels like Rockstar probably doing some work on GTA 6. Like, have we told anyone about this yet? Like, no.
Oh,
maybe we should. I mean, everyone assumes it's coming, so we just haven't bothered telling anyone.
Did you not send out that scheduled memo that we had? It's like, they'd put like 2025 instead of 2020. It's like, oh shit, we should have mentioned this 2 years back.
I mean, it's kind of everyone's just assumed that, okay, they're working on the remasters of GTA 5 for next gen, and then GTA 6 will come probably a year after, I would have thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, as everyone's like, okay, yeah, well, of course you're working on GTA 6. Why wouldn't you be?
Yeah. No surprise there, but again,
yep, here we are.
Again, remember back in the last year when we heard the rumours of the GTA remaster coming to Stadia, and then that fell apart.
Yeah.
We got How did we ever get Red Dead Redemption 2? That's just something that baffles me. It's one of the best looking games on the platform still to this day. Of course, jokes aside. We do have some DLC news, ladies and gentlemen. So, Suicide Squad. Stadia could be known as the Suicide Squad at this point, actually. We've got some game DLC updates. Risk of Rain 2. Survivors of the Void has some paid expansion coming out March. Only on PC, though. Confirmed for PC. But we don't really know what that means in the world we live in today. Risk of Rain 2 Survivors of the Void paid expansion has a launch date. It'll be heading out on 1st of March, so not too long now, just under a month. With a console release to follow, which we think that's the one Stadia fits into nowadays. And to celebrate the news, developers Hopoo Games have offered a closer look at the Railgunner, one or two survivors joining its enormous successful co-op roguelike shooter as part of the expansion. Survivors of the Void brings a significant heft of new content to Risk of Rain 2, ranging from new bosses, enemies, to new items and stages, with the unifying theme, the Void. We enjoyed Risk of Rain, Richie, when we played it back in the day.
Yeah, we got a great first look on that as well, so everyone should go watch that.
We should.
Was it Risk of Rain that the new? I think it was the last DLC came out. I think it might have been a timed exclusive to Stadia. I think Tom did a video on that.
He did. It's one of our best videos actually on the channel. So go check that out if you wish to. Check out our live stream. I think the live stream is actually where I wore the V for Vendetta mask at the start of it because it was bonfire night. I'm sure that was.
I remember you doing that. I can't remember which stream though.
Yeah, I was probably drunk then as well, actually. And then final news stories of the week, just rounding out the show, everybody. Far Cry 6's third and final DLC featuring the antagonists from previous titles will be out this week. If you are playing, it will launch on Stadia and Ubisoft Plus 8th of February, so at the time of listening, just a few days to go. This one features Joseph Seed in the Collapse DLC, the final one. So we've already had the one from featuring Vass from Far Cry 3. We've had the one featuring Pagan Min from Far Cry 4, and now we've moved on to Joseph Seed from Far Cry 5. It's another roguelike adventure with some slight twists based on the Collapse mentality of Joseph Seed. There's probably going to be some drugged up stuff going on. More roguelike features, lots of purple, bright colourful purple powder. And this time you'll be going back to Hope County, Montana, and experiencing a unique opportunity to tap into Joseph's tortured mind, face off against his former cult followers after the faith has collapsed, and ultimately confront his family members as he struggles to conquer his inner demons. Co-op is supported with a buddy pass mode as well. And like I said, this is the final piece of content, but there will be more to come and regarding free updates and season pass stuff as well. Richie, you checked out Far Cry 6 as part of your Ubisoft Plus subscription.
I did.
What's it doing for you? What's it doing for you?
I mean, it's more Far Cry. It's like I only played like an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I was just more honestly. The main reason I tested it out was I wanted to see how well my PC would handle a modern title. Mm-hmm. So I checked it out on PC mainly, but then I did decide to just jump onto Stadia just to have a look as well. It's fine. The intro scene's very, very interesting. I reckon if I had the time, it could be bothered to play it, I'd enjoy it. But there's other things that I'd rather be playing.
Horizon Zero Dawn in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
less than 2 weeks.
I've got 2 weeks to finish Uncharted and then Kinga.
Ooh, you can do it. I have faith. I have faith in you. Just like I have faith in Google Stadia. And I have faith in one rich bastard who's buying the Google Clear controller that's up available right now on eBay. That's right, everybody. Our final story of the week is the bright and shiny and also transparent Stadia controller modified from the Stadia team. This was a gift, Richie. This was a gift given to somebody who worked at the launch party of this cloud platform out there. They've Actually, to be fair, this might not be the people who own it. They might have been handed it or whatever. We don't really know. They're staying anonymous. No surprise. They've took it apart. They have stripped back its bearings and put the innards of a Premier Edition inside. So it is a fully functioning Google Stadia team controller.
So was the Google Stadia launch team just given a non-functional controller as a gift?
It's like on a little stand.
That seems a bit...
A little stand.
Yeah, it seems a bit...
Give me a real one. We've made that many Premier
Editions.
Editions.
Cool.
We didn't have enough components to make you a legit working
and
one.
One of the advantages of clear tech is you can see the innards.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Richie? If you want one, you can bid right now because this is currently available on eBay. It's currently sits at $910, which is approximately £672.50, Great British equivalent. It sits with 47 bids currently. So evidently, this is in high demand.
I don't even understand who the people who have the sort of money to bid that sort of money on this. Like, I'm a Stadia fan. I've got my Founders controller there, but
yeah, I mean,
I just don't. This level of money for a controller.
Yeah,
it just.
I mean, if it was reasonable and nobody else knew about it, I would have probably looked at it just for like a collector's piece. But
I think 2 years ago, I could understand more. If like people were buying this, going, you know what? If Google takes off in the way Stadia takes off the way we expect it to, it's going to be up there challenging Microsoft and PlayStation. I've got this cool bit of like this legacy, this shift of the paradigm of gaming.
Yeah. However,
I just don't think Stadia's there. Though.
I mean, looking at some of the images online, it's like it's a bit scratched at the back. I think where they've taken the cap off the back to probably get to the screws underneath to take it apart. Yeah. It's cracked the plastic a little bit, so it's already damaged a little bit.
Yeah,
it comes with a little stand, which I think is probably the stand that you can buy and 3D print yourself. But you know what? It's unique. It's special. If you've got the cash, all the best to you. And no doubt, whoever is the winner will be tweeting out about this. If I acquired this, I'd be posting it proudly. I'd be showing it off on this very show. But Richie, that brings an end to this very show. So just like the Stadia controller, I have two transparent empty bottles right with me, and I'm probably going to go crack open another one because it is Saturday night at the time of recording. We've had a crazy busy show. We've covered loads of news stories. We're probably going to get a Stadia blog next week, if I'm right in thinking so. Maybe they'll address more.
So, yeah.
We'll have to see. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen, you're with us through thick and thin. We appreciate you tuning in, watching, however you digest your Helix Cloud content. Remember, we'll be back this Thursday for another live stream playing a game in the cloud, Destiny 2, in fact. Apparently it's got 5,000 plus players, so let's add to that. Richie,
remember, we're going for 6,000.
That's right, get your friends. Give them a Premier Edition. Buy them a clear controller if you wish to. But Richie, we do have another episode of SideQuest to go and record. We don't have Grace on this week's show, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen.
No,
however, we will be going away and discussing, Richie?
We're discussing video game consolidation and how it affects Stadia.
That's right. We haven't discussed it enough on this episode. We didn't discuss it enough last week with Activision, but we kind of want to broach the subject of what this means for Google. And in light of 20%...
Everyone's buying everyone. What happens for Google?
What happens when there's no one left to work with? You miss out on the party. So we don't know. For all we know, Google could just rip open the checkbook and go, you know what? Have at it. We're fed up of all this shit the journos are giving us. We're fed up of the criticism. There's point whatever billion. Go spend it. Go.
Haha. Microsoft, you may have bought Bungie. You may have bought Activision Blizzard, but we're going to buy you. That would be... That would never go through that sale. Literally, I think governments would block that.
Yeah, probably. Remember, Taco Bell win. But you know what? There's plenty of people up for grabs. Sony ain't stopping with their acquisitions. I don't think Microsoft are done yet either. Nintendo will just do Nintendo, and we've got the Steam Deck due out later this month as well, so who knows what's going on over at Valve as well. But you know what? We'll be here to report on it. All the more reason to. That has been episode 124 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast with myself and the man of many pixels. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and remember, regardless of the news, regardless of the 20% and the destinies and the acquisitions and mergers, play wherever makes you the happiest. My name's been Chris.
I've been Richie.
We've been Helix Cloud Games. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you in the clouds. Goodbye.
Bye.
Let's go, Peloton.